I guess the first thing is figure out how visually started up. What made you decide to put together this website community?
Sure. Visually started out as a community for infographics, right? And then from there we moved to more of a marketplace, and we built our project center and started to get into the business of actually creating infographics for people. We saw the need for, there was a lot of enthusiasm around infographics when we started, and we saw the need for kind of a central place for this kind of content where people could go, where people could post their infographics, where they could have a distribution platform, like them, share them, do all that kind of social stuff. Because especially when we started, a lot of the infographics that were being made were more for social media or for sharing, right? A lot of the early ones were intended to be viral. Many of them went viral, including many of the ones that we had produced in our past and also at Visually. We thought it was kind of smart in some ways to kind of start with the community, and then we knew that would be an important part of what we were kind of doing going forward, and still remains an important part. And then from there, what we did was we started to draw from the community. We had a lot of designers sign up, and not just designers, but also journalists, data analysts, animators, developers, all kinds of people that work on these on this kind of content. It turned out that that was a real advantage that we had this community that we could draw from to actually build out these teams to work on projects for clients. Now, kind of fast forward 3 years later, we have 100,000 creatives on our platform.
Wow, that's amazing.
So we're excited about that.
What was the number you started with? I mean, what was your core group?
Well, it's hard to say because we we also have a lot of fans on the site, right? Fans of infographics.
Right.
Like I was starting to say, people that just like to go to a place where they can read about infographics and share the ones they like and stuff. Kind of more of like a YouTube kind of community or a Pinterest or something like that, where they're just posting infographics that they like.
Right.
So I'm not sure about the breakdown. Between, we didn't really look at it that way to start with, but I do know that we did go from 0 to 100,000 in 3 years. I'm just not sure, where we were, like in the first few months or whatever. From there, one of the things, and this kind of relates back to some of the questions you sent over, I think people think, as compared to like a Behance or a Dribbble, people think that you can just go out and hire any designer to create an infographic, right? So this is the way that a lot of people go about creating infographics today. Like they'll go to their agency or whatever, and they'll say, listen, we want to make an infographic. Can you put one of your designers on this and make it, design an infographic? And what we know, because we've made literally hundreds, if not thousands of these things, thousands really, over the years, it's not as simple as that. You can't just hire any designer. Designers need to, first of all, designers need to have an understanding of data. They need to know how to tell a story. They need to be able to find the insights in the data. And secondly, most of these things are done by multidisciplinary teams. So they're not just made by designers. They're made by designers working with data journalists, working with researchers, working with, if it's motion graphics, which we also do, working with animators. It could be an interactive piece which requires a developer, right? So you have that aspect to it as well. So these things are complicated. To do them well is not easy. And really the hard part is this collaboration piece. How do you find all of the resources? How do you put them together in a way that's going to produce a really great infographic that will meet your goals, whether it's for sharing or for thought leadership or for even internal distribution of information. We get that a lot. We work with a lot of enterprise clients where the data is proprietary and they use these same sort of storytelling techniques to communicate information within their enterprise or within their company. So this is how we're different, I guess, in order to answer your question. And it's a more specialized skill than just designing a logo or a website, for example.
Well, that's great. So that leads me to the question you asked within your explanation. How do you find the team? Do you actually put together teams? Do you start with a project lead? How much of it does Visually do, or again, do you tend to like reach out to groups that are already doing this kind of thing, saying, "Here's a project, take it on"?
Right. Great question. So the first thing to say is that Visually is a marketplace as opposed to an agency. So we have a marketplace model, and what that means is we work with a lot of outside resources to complete these projects for clients. And what we do is we pull together the teams of people that are needed. So I think of it as kind of like a Hollywood model. Like if you were making a movie, you would bring in the director, you would bring in all the actors, you would bring in the guy to write the script. That's kind of what we do. And we have a global supply of creatives. Like I said, 100,000 creatives on the platform. Of those, we've actually, and this is kind of where like our secret sauce comes in, we've actually kind of we've certified those so that you're only working with the best of the best, people that have worked on projects before, that we trust, that we know understand data, know how to tell a story, and all this kind of stuff. And we pull in all the right people. And then what we do is we kind of layer on a little bit of project management, creative direction, things like that on top of the project. So there's very little risk to the client because we're guaranteeing everything. So it's not like they're working with some random freelancer that they don't know, who they are, or that, if they're going to be around, the next day or something.
Right.
We guarantee all of our projects, and most of these people, we've worked with before, and we know they're going to do a good job. And one of the nice things about the marketplace model is that if in fact something does go wrong, or say you don't like your designer for one reason or another, we can easily pull in another one because we have this huge supply of people, and we can find the right team for the right project. And that could be either because like we work with a lot of media companies and a lot of agencies, and they have teams of people internally that work on this stuff, but a lot of those people could be either tapped out, like they're really busy and they don't have time to do a project.
Sure.
Or there might be a particular expertise that we have, like say it's something like mapping. We can bring in a map guy to do an interactive map, where that might be something that you don't have internally. And again, this gets back to the earlier question of like, not every designer knows how to make a map.
Right.
Not every designer can like sift through a CSV file full of data and figure out what the best way to visualize that is.
Right.
And so, in order to do this at scale, and we do hundreds of projects a month, so we are by far the largest company doing this and creating this kind of content. We have this model where we employ people at the creative director level, and then we go out to the marketplace and bring in people to work on the projects. Does that answer the question?
Yeah, it does. And
Great.
that brought me to another thing that I didn't send you a word on. But are you program agnostic? Are you friendly with Tableau? Do you like CartoDB?
Yeah.
Do you is there
We are.
Any flavor of the month or particular favorites that you like or particular
Yeah.
reasons you go for that?
So we absolutely are, and let me tell you why. I can give you a little bit of history there, which
Hmm.
is kind of interesting. So we actually started out thinking we would build a tool ourselves
No.
to produce infographics, and we went fairly far down that road. In fact, we have a lot of technology, data integration technology on the back end, which we still do, kind of pull in from time to time as needed on some of the more complex projects. But one of the things we realized was that people, and by people I mean the creative talent, the designers and data analysts and stuff, they're already using certain tools, right? They already are using. In the case of designer, they're using most of the tools they're using are either made by Adobe, or they're some of the tools that you mentioned like Tableau or Palantir or CartoDB, these things. And rather than reinvent the wheel, we decided to work on what we thought to be a bigger problem, which was this collaboration piece. How do you find the people? How do you bring together the teams? How do you provide an environment where they can collaborate successfully? And so yeah, we don't really care what people use, and we can deliver in kind of any format people want. Usually, we try to be very kind of web friendly, and we use a lot of web technologies like HTML5, CSS,
Hmm.
D3, stuff like that for interactive pieces, and then we can output in Adobe Illustrator or any format anybody needs. Same is true for video. Um, and what we did instead was we built this, what we focused our engineering team on was we focused them on building a great collaboration environment. So we have this proprietary project center that people can work in. It has threaded discussions. You can upload files, a timeline of milestones with notifications that get sent out, all this kind of stuff. So it's a full project management system. Keeps all the communications centralized in one place. And we decided that, instead of redoing, there's great tools out there, like the ones you mentioned. Why reinvent those? Let's just let people use what they want, and we'll attack the other part of the problem, which is how do you make it easy for people to collaborate?
Well, it sounds like you've created a great tool that has a whole different application
I
for
think
the
so.
community. So
Yeah,
yeah.
we're people seem to like it, and we're constantly improving it, and we just announced a big round of funding last week, and
Right.
a lot of
Congratulations.
thank you. And what we're going to do with that is really, double down on the project center and double down on our marketplace, and make that tool even better.
Uh, One thing about Marketplace, I remember looking at an interactive piece that you guys had produced out of Census Bureau data
Uh-huh.
that I thought was really interesting because it was about Hispanics in the United States, and it had a two-sided approach because you could view it in English or you could flip and view it in Spanish, and I thought that was very forward-thinking and also very internationally thinking. So asking
Yeah.
about Marketplace, do you feel like you're U.S. based and spreading
Uh,
out, or
that's a
and with
great
people
question.
all over? So
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, well, the first thing to say is our creatives are all over the world.
hmm.
So, I mean, primarily in the U.S., Europe, Canada, kind of tend to be. Um, we have great people in Spain. Eastern Europe is a big place for us. Croatia, Romania, places like that.
Hmm.
Um, and we do a lot of work in other languages.
Hmm.
We've got we did a video that was translated into about 6 languages once, and so it's definitely we're definitely, I think, focused internationally now. In terms of our business, our main location's in San Francisco, so and we have a small New York office. And one of the things one of the goals for 2014 is to kind of work a little bit more on international expansion, and we hope to open an office in London to cover Europe, and then somewhere in Asia, probably Singapore or Hong Kong, and maybe Tokyo as well. So we're looking at that right now, but there's no, a lot of what we do is very visual, so it translates quite well to other languages and other cultures, and some cultures are more visual than others. Like the Japanese in particular, really love this stuff. So we're excited. We've talked to a lot of people over there that are anxious for us to come into Japan.
You have to deal a lot with cultural variations that.
Absolutely.
I know it's a loaded question. It's a leading question. Like yes, of course you do. You have to, how red is perceived in China may be different as how red might be perceived in the UK and so on and so forth. So, just as a color choice.
Oh yeah, no, those are kinds of things we think about all the time. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, we just did a piece where it was. I guess there were three audiences. One was the U.S., one was England. It was for Standard Chartered Bank out of the UK, and then the other audience was Singapore in Asia. They have a base in Singapore. It's a kind of an international bank based in London and Singapore. So that was an issue there for sure, like the colors that we were using on the charts and things like that, how the data was represented.
One of the things I didn't ask you earlier was concerning your work in a collaborative environment, which can be completely international, and this is a hard question to answer, so I'll set it up that way. Is there a realistic time frame from when a call or a request comes in to get an infographic for you to say, well, because of our efficiency, we can probably put it together in 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 5 weeks? And again, I realize that we can be talking about everything from a completely intense interactive piece to a video piece to just a long display piece. But
yeah. Well, it does depend on the piece. I think we're quite a bit faster than some of our competitors, or certainly when you go through to an agency, or we've kind of streamlined the whole process, so that helps a lot in terms of like things like approvals and we've made videos, and we just made a video in 4 days, which is pretty amazing. So most times you can't even get the script approved in under a couple of weeks. So we've done the long infographic. We've done that in as little as like a day. I mean, those aren't fun experiences. It's not something I would recommend. But yeah, I mean, we're pretty fast, and I don't think we're fast enough, to be honest. I think we're constantly trying to push more efficiency into the system and get faster. Again, that's a big part of our model, is to be the fastest and very high quality as well. I mean, I didn't really mention before, but like one of the things in our marketplace model is that we're not, we don't have, like a lot of marketplaces that are out there, it's not an auction. So there's no bidding on projects. We set the price, and we try to set a fair price. We return the majority of the money back to the creative person. So we've kind of flipped that on its head from what an agency would do, where an agency would take most of the money, but we're very friendly to the creatives. We want to do right by them, so in terms of speed, we do charge rush fees and things like that if people want things faster, but yeah, we can turn things around fast. I forgot the question. Sorry.
No, I think it really was about turnaround, and that actually applied right to the question. So here's another side of the same question. What are you having the most difficulty finding in terms of resources for creating infographics? I mean, you have 100 over 100,000, but is there a hole? Is there a lack? Or is there something you're constantly trying to find, and it's always a juggling match?
Um, I think we could always use more developers, people that can work with, do interactive pieces for us, and probably also a little bit on the data side, data analysis side.
I was thinking
really
that
good
as well.
data analysts. They're not necessarily, there isn't really a marketplace out there for data analysts. So, um, they don't really think of this kind of model as something that, in a way in which they would work necessarily. But I think, we can bring a lot of work to really good data analysts out there that want to do this kind of work, that want to work on these kinds of projects. So, if you're out there, get in touch.
I'll help you spread the word.
Yeah.
That's the point of this interview.
Thanks for the interview, and this was fun. I liked doing it over Skype. It was fun, and
Great. My
okay,
pleasure. Thanks for
yeah,
taking the time, man.
absolutely. Bye.